Welcome back to the Bears Baseball Network. We've got our 2023 second base preview to keep things going along with our position previews for the 2023 season. And I'll tell you what, second base, an interesting position. I think if you really go through the ages of the situation of each second base, I think a lot of times it's kind of the guy who gets left out of the other infield positions, gets slotted at second base, maybe a defensive specialist, maybe a bat. So I think second base is a really interesting position because a lot of different roles for these guys. Let's go ahead and get right into it, starting at 18U. And KJ, going to start with you here. 18U, Adam Tobias, I think, going to be the starter going into opening day. He's a guy who just seems to just keep getting things done. No matter, the adversity against him, he just seems to keep making it happen. Give me your thoughts on Adam Tobias.
Yeah, I've coached Adam in the BWL this season, and he's a very, very good defender, and he definitely contributes at the plate. He's not going to be a Brendan Nickerson, Mac Floyd, and Lancaster type hitter. But, he'll be towards the bottom of the order, but he's going to lock down that second base position. He plays great defense there, and he's a great team player. He's a great kid overall.
Yeah, and Adam Tobias, one of the hardest hitters to strike out in the entire Bears organization. I know 2 years ago he had the lowest strikeout rate in the Bears, and this year it wasn't quite the lowest, but it was very low. 8.6% was Adam Tobias' strikeout rate, so very, very difficult to strike out, and definitely a high floor hitter for sure. And obviously when you take into account his defense, definitely a very good second base option for this team. Andrew Engelken could see some time at second base for this team as well, so a lot of different options there. But Adam Tobias certainly coming off a good year, looking to have another good year this summer. Moving into our 16U team, Bernie, a lot of different options here at second base for your squad. I know the situation still being worked out in practice, but give me your thoughts on the second base position for 16U.
Yeah, for right now, it's still probably Vince DiPiazza as a starter. But, guys like Oliver Saxon, Kale Calmese, guys who are going to be in the lineup, if maybe Vince struggles or something like that, you could definitely see those two guys factoring into second base here.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, second base, I think in a lot of situations is a guy who you want to get in the lineup, but maybe can't fit him in anywhere else defensively. So I think that's where you can see Caleb Calmese maybe playing second base or Oliver Saxon. Definitely a situation there that is very fluid. But I think, one of those guys you figure is going to step up, and you're going to end up with a very nice second base option out of the group. Let's move into 15U. And Brody Cvetton looks to be the starter at 15U, at least for now. Last year, a very, I think, underrated player, a guy who brings a lot to the team that maybe you don't see in the box score. KJ, another guy you've gotten to coach at BWL. Give me your thoughts on Brody Cvetton.
Yeah, Brody's a great team guy, and you take all the talents he has on the field, away, and he's a big time player, on the bench for us. But what he does, he's really surprised me with the bat this season. He's had really good at bats for us. He plays a really solid second base, and Brody's a very valuable player to have on your team.
Yeah, 100%. I think he was a guy going into last season that was definitely going to serve more of a bench role and earned his way into the starting lineup and really got the majority of those second base reps going down the stretch in the fall. He's a guy that I definitely think is undervalued and brings a lot to that Dalton squad. Maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves for it. Definitely, I think, going to be a very nice option again at second base. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a step forward with the bat this year. Not that he was a bad hitter last year, but I definitely think you could see him get closer to that 400 batting average going into the season because he did have a very good winter so far, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do going forward. Moving into 14U, this definitely a little competition here. I would say the second baseman for this team is probably whoever loses the shortstop battle between Andrew Driscoll and Jack Dalton. That's kind of the shortstop battle right now, and whichever one of these guys loses that battle will be the second baseman, would be my guess. But a lot of different options here. Jaden Coleman makes the top team. He could slot in at second base. Weston Brody could slot in at second base. Matthew Bender is a guy who could slot in at second base. So a lot of different options here. Bernie, going to go with you on this one. Let's assume, just because Andrew Driscoll was the starter in the fall, let's assume Jack Dalton is the second baseman. A guy that I know you like a lot, Bernie. Give me your thoughts on Jack Dalton moving to 14U full-time.
Yeah, I think obviously Jack put up good stats at 15U on the 15U Dalton squad. He was one of the better hitters on that squad. And now he's moving down to 14U. I think the bat's going to continue to roll here. Obviously, it might be at second base here. I don't know, because Andrew Driscoll is a very good glove over at short. But Jack Dalton will be in the lineup. He will bat toward the top of the order, and he will have a great season.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jack Dalton, obviously. I think he's going to have a monster year, whether it is at short or second. But either way, the middle infield duo for this 14U team should be very, very strong, you would think, with these two guys. Both great gloves, both very solid bats as well. I'm excited to see what they're going to do going forward. Moving into 13U, I would say this is a very fluid situation. Being my age, I definitely use second base as a position to put a bat in the lineup that maybe can't fit in the other places defensively, and going to be a very fluid situation. I don't know that there's necessarily going to be one guy that mans second base for this team. I think Logan Meyer will get a lot of innings there when he's not catching. Josiah Leaker, we talked about, if he makes the squad. Dom Palucci, who had a great year last year, he could see some time at second base. And then, of course, you've got a slew of guys like Jacob Villette, Liam Rogers, Mason Geddes. All of those guys could see some time at second base as well if they really come out of the gates hot in this season. So a very fluid situation. But I would say going into the season, a guy I really want to touch on a little bit is going to be Dom Palucci. Last year, he was a guy who dominated on that Kreitler squad, hit well over 500 for the entire season, got moved up to Bell, and in about a 2 or 3 week span, hit over 700 on Bell before getting moved up to Floyd. He's a guy that I definitely think has kind of taken this opportunity and ran with it, and I'm excited to see what he can do going into this season if he does get some time at second base for that top team. Moving into 12U, KJ, obviously, again, I would say a very fluid situation. I think that's something we've kind of seen with a lot of these second base situations is it's a battle. It's been a big competition. It kind of depends on how the rest of the lineup shakes out. But give me your thoughts initially on this second base situation for 12U.
Yeah, in my opinion, at the 12U age, the importance is of the defense. Usually you look at like the older ages, and it's the shortstop, third baseman, and then second baseman's kind of where, like Robbie said, you hide a bat a little bit. But I feel like at 12U it's almost shortstop, second base is pretty close there, and then third base. I find that in these games a lot of balls are hit to second base, and second base is heavily involved. So this offseason I've been looking for a guy we can trust defensively at second base, and then again, if you hit, you'll find a spot on the field. So, I got 3 guys right now I really trust defensively, and 3 guys that are good hitters. It's really open right now. We got Avery McNicholas, Jaden Highland, Cam Bernstein, Caden Inman can see some time at second when he's not playing third. We got a lot of guys that can play second base, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely one of those battles that's been going on throughout the offseason and is going to continue going on. But again, I always like when you've got these four to 5 guy battles, because whoever comes victorious out of that 4-man battle is going to be a great option. So definitely things looking up for that second base situation at 12U. Definitely, I think finally the combination of glove and bat is going to be very interesting going forward. Moving on to 11U, Bernie, I think the situation is pretty clear-cut here. Cale Taylor, definitely the favorite going into the season, but when other guys are pitching, he's going to have to move around. Maybe Harry Bundren seeing some time at second base as well. Some other guys involved, Garrett Perkins maybe as well. Give me your thoughts on the second base position here at 11U.
I mean, yeah, obviously, start the year, Cale's going to be the guy there. I'm very high on Cale, so I'll talk about it in a little bit. But Cale will have to slide over, play a little bit of short. Maybe if Owen Lewis is pitching, maybe even play a little third if Ben's pitching. And you could see Harry move in around the infield as well at those positions. So, I think Cale's going to have a monster season this year.
Yeah, Cale Taylor, definitely. He's been talked about on the show a couple times. Definitely maybe not quite a BBN darling yet, but definitely going in that direction. A guy that we really like a lot. That is the situation for every varsity team going down the list. I do want to touch on some prospects here. And Bernie, I'll go ahead and start with you, a guy that you just touched on, Harry Bundren. Tell me about this guy. Obviously, brand new to the Bears. Give me your thoughts on Harry Bundren.
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, Harry's going to play. I mean, he'll touch all 3, second, short, and third this season. He's kind of going to be that fill-in guy when someone else is pitching. Owen Lewis, who's going to be at short, is going to be pitching a lot. Ben at third's going to be pitching. Cale's going to be pitching. So even Brody Wilburn behind the plate catching is going to be pitching too. So with all these different pitchers at 11U, you need someone to be able to fill in. I think he'll play that role very well. He's very slick defensively, has a good arm, and just maybe a little development on the bat needed, but that will come with time, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. He's a guy I like a lot, and if he really puts his head down and works hard, I definitely think he could be a star on that 11U team. A guy I want to touch on is, you've heard of his brother, Dom Palucci, but I want to talk about Gio Palucci, and this is a guy I really like a lot. I knew when I heard that Dom's brother was coming into the Bears, it got me excited because Dom's work ethic, has really been unmatched across the Bears. He's been one of the hardest workers, and I knew Gio coming in, work ethic was not going to be a question for him. The question was going to be skill. How quick can he develop? And I would say he's done a really good job working hard, and he's developed into a pretty good bat and a pretty solid glove as well, a serviceable glove at least. KJ, I know I didn't prepare you with this, but give me your thoughts on Gio, from your perspective being the head of 12U, how he's impressed you this winter.
Yeah, I've kind of had Gio in a couple of different spots. Some days he's with outfield, some days he's with infield. And, when I've put him with infield, he's done a really, really nice job at second base. He's definitely more of an offensive player than a defensive player, but, a guy who can play a solid second base, who can catch and who can hit home runs, Gio's a valuable player.
Yeah, definitely. A guy I really like a lot, and I'm excited. Probably not going to be a top team guy going into the season, but definitely if he has a very nice season on that burn squad, I could definitely see him making a run to the roster come the fall. All right, let's go ahead and move into our sleepers and breakouts. Once again, a sleeper, kind of an undervalued guy, a guy that nobody really sees, coming. Maybe what we expect from him is going to be a little bit higher than the public perception of him. And then a breakout is a guy who's going to bust through a tier or two. And for me, the tiers: superstar, star, starter, role player, and prospect. So a breakout is a guy who's going to go from one tier and break up into the next one, or maybe two above it. So let's go ahead and go through our sleepers and breakouts. KJ, I'm going to start with you. Give me your sleeper at the second base position.
Yeah, my sleeper is going to come from my age. It's going to be Avery McNicholas. I talked about him a little bit earlier, man, but he's new to the team, and he's really going to compete for that second base job. He played really well defensively the other night when I saw him. If he can hold his own at the plate, if he can contribute to the lineup, I think there's a good shot he's going to see a lot of innings at second base.
Yeah, a guy I really like a lot, a guy who I think has worked really hard this winter, and I think he's going to really see the results of that hard work going into this spring season. Bernie, give me your sleeper at the second base position.
My sleeper, someone we've already talked about here, it is going to be Giovanni Palucci. Like you said, Gio's a great bat. I think that you look back a year ago today, Dom Palucci was kind of in that same scenario as Gio. I think you could argue Gio's maybe a little ahead of Dom, where Dom was at this time. So, I think he's going to be a big impact on that burn team, and you could see him move up to Floyd over the course of the fall.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that has definitely been true is when you are on one of those lower teams, if you hit, you get a chance on the top team. So definitely I think Gio, if he hits, if he produces, he will definitely get his chance going forward. My sleeper is going to be Brody Kvetin. He's another one of those guys who I think his value kind of goes unappreciated to the public masses. I think what he brings both defensively and offensively, and especially what he brings to the team morale and the team chemistry for that Dalton squad. I mean, he definitely is kind of the glue to that team, and I definitely think when he's not there, he's definitely missed. And I think Brody is going to have a better season offensively, and I definitely think he's going to be the glue to that team once again. And if this Dalton squad is really going to repeat of how great they were last year, if they're going for 70 wins once again, Kvetin is going to be a big part of that offensively, defensively, and maybe even on the mound as well. So Brody Kvetin, a guy who I think is really underappreciated and undervalued, and is my sleeper for the second base position. All right, let's move into breakouts for the second base position. Bernie, I'll go ahead and start with you here. Give me your breakout at the second base position.
My breakout is going to come from my age at 11U, and it will be Cale Taylor. Cale, if you just look at Cale's raw attributes, he hits for power. He's not a big kid, but he does hit for a lot of power. He's very quick. He doesn't strike out a lot, and he plays good defense. Literally everything you could want in a player. I think he can put it together this season, I think right now he's kind of like that starter realm. I think he could even turn into that superstar, that top tier. I think he'd easily be a top 3, top 2 hitter on this 11U squad.
Yeah, 100% agree with you, Bernie. A guy I like a lot, and I definitely think he could break into that star or even superstar territory. KJ, give me your breakout at the second base position.
Yeah, my breakout is going to be Jack Dalton. I think Jack's sometimes overshadowed by, Vince, his brother, but Jack deserves just as much stardom as Vince does. This guy is a superstar. He plays great defense, whether it's at second, short, even third. He can play great defense, and he's a very, very good hitter. This guy bats third for my team in the BWL when he's there. He's going to be around superstars. He was around superstars on his Dalton team, and when he moved to Floyd, he's going to be around other superstars, like Ben Combs and Landon Nickerson and Andrew Willeret. So, there's not a ton of pressure on him, but, he's going to be in that order with a bunch of other superstars, and that's going to be a very dangerous lineup to pitch to.
Yeah, and KJ, like you said, he does kind of get overshadowed by Vince and by his other teammates on that Dalton squad. Him moving to 14U full-time, I think it's going to be really his chance to just show everybody that he is that superstar. He is that guy because the numbers he was putting up playing a year up is very, very impressive, and I think he's going to be even better moving to that 14U team. that team looks to be dangerous, man. I think Jack Dalton's going to be at the heart of it. And moving into my breakout, I am going to go with Dom Palucci. He's a guy who, again, every level he went to last year hit. I believe he was only on Floyd for the last weekend or two of the season, but even on that team, he hit. I remember he hit this one ball. We were playing at the big field at Grand Slam, and he hit a ball that if we were on one of the smaller fields, it's gone. I mean, it's gone by a while. And this guy, I think, could really produce at that top level. He's definitely going to get an opportunity here to be on that top team and show what he can do. You know, he crushed the ball on Kreitler. He crushed the ball on Bell. Now getting moved up to this Floyd squad where he's going to have to compete for playing time. I think he's got a very big opportunity here to break into that, starter, maybe even star role. I would definitely say he's more in that role player situation right now. I'd love to see him break into a starter role, maybe even star, and I think he's got the bat to do it. And honestly, his defense is serviceable as well, so I definitely think he could have a big, big role for that 13U Floyd squad. That's going to do it for our second base 2023 season preview. Next week, we're moving over to third base, the hot corner, and a lot of interesting players live there as well for the Bears. That's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network, and we'll talk to you all next week.